Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to another IELTS journey with Fabi, where we talk about everything IELTS. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Fabi. I'm an IELTS expert here in Brisbane, Australia, and I help people prove their English level so they can work, study, and live abroad. Because remember, if you are thinking about studying in a place where English is the first language, even if you're thinking about studying in a place where English is not the first language, but the classes will be in English, you will need the IELTS test. Okay. If you want to work in another country, you're usually going to work in English and you have to prove your level. You have to do the IELTS test. If you want to immigrate to another country, you will have to prove your English level. And then you need the IELTS test. Okay. Goody, goody. That's why I'm here today to help you with that. and as you notice, I've been here every day this week, okay, with you because we are getting ready for the workshop IELTS Booster. Okay, so in this workshop IELTS Booster, I will tell you everything you need to know about the IELTS test. And part of the workshop is actually based on mistakes I see my students making every day. So, in this workshop, I'll be able to warn you about these mistakes so you don't make them in the future. All right. So, that's one of the things. And also, I'll be able to explain everything for you about the IELTS test. Okay. So, if you're ready to join me, the workshop will happen on the 18th, 20th, wait, yeah, 18th, 20th, and 22nd of August. Not so far from today. Okay. And also, you can join for free and it's online. So you don't have to pay and you don't have to come to Australia to see me. You can see me online. Goody, goody. Okay. So that's what I wanted to tell you. And today, we are going to talk about the IELTS test, but we are also not going to talk about the IELTS test. The main focus today is not really the IELTS. So I'm not going to teach you strategies today. Are you ready for that? No strategies from me today. You'll know how much I love strategies. Okay. So I was talking to my team, and that's a question that students and people ask me all the time, right? Okay. Fabi, why the IELTS? Fabi, why do you teach IELTS? And guys, the IELTS test changed my life. If it wasn't for the IELTS test, I wouldn't be here in Australia today and I wouldn't be here with you today. So, yes, the IELTS test changed my life. That's for sure. Okay. And I'm just going to share a little bit about that with you today. How and why the IELTS test changed my life. Are you ready? And guys, if you have any questions, you can pop the questions in. Okay, you can pop the questions in at any time. And if I don't get to your questions straight away, I'll get to them at the end. I usually scroll up and down on YouTube and Instagram and I look for the questions. Okay, and I answer them. All right, cool. So, the first exam I took was not the IELTS test. It was the CPE. Do you know what the CPE is? So basically, there are Cambridge exams, right? So the exams that we do to, yeah, any exam will be to prove your English level, right? But with the Cambridge exams, it's not like the IELTS test that everyone will take the same test and people might get different scores. With the Cambridge exam, they have different levels for the exams, right? So you choose your level and you do the test and you either pass or you don't pass. Okay. So with me, I decided to do the CPE, which is the top level, the highest level you can go in English. We call it the Queen's English. It's English that nobody uses. But as a teacher, it was very important for me to have this exam. So I was still living in Brazil and I tried to do the exam. I attempted. Okay. Didn't really study, didn't have time, was working too much, just like most of you. But it was a very difficult exam. I should have spent more time practicing for it. And I took the exam in Brazil and I failed. At the time, you needed 60 points to pass. I got 59. I got a D, which meant that my English was advanced, but it wasn't proficiency. So I was advanced, but I wasn't like at maybe let's say native speakers level yet. And I was very upset, of course, very very upset. And it was an important exam for me because as a teacher, it was important to prove my English that way. So what did I do? I decided to come to Australia to study for the exam because I felt, wow, this is so important to me. Okay, so I'll take the time to study because I didn't really study the previous time, and it's very expensive exam. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to Australia and I will be studying for this exam. And I decided to come to Australia because my brother was living here, which was good, even though he stayed here for only a month after I arrived. We said hello and then goodbye. And because also Australia is one of the countries where you can work. I didn't have money just to study. I wanted to uh, make some money too to pay for my bills here because the Australian dollar is very expensive. So I decided to come to Australia to study for the CPE exam. It was a 12-week course, 10-week course. Yeah, it was about 3 months. So I studied and I was working in restaurants. It was so much fun, but I was studying. And then I changed the way I study. Okay, I really changed the way I study. It was really interesting. And I really saw the exam with different eyes. And I did the test again. And I got a B. So I went from a D within a year to a B for a very, very difficult exam. Okay. So I was extremely happy with that exam. And that started opening doors for me. So the CPE exam is like 8.5 on the IELTS test. Yeah, but it's much more difficult than the IELTS because it's you have lots of grammar and all that. So I and then with that in hand, with the proof of my English, I started looking for work as an English teacher here in Australia. And I got a job at a very good school here in Brisbane, Australia. And I started working there. And I was happy, in Australia, working, teaching English here. Sorry, guys. And then my boss came to me and he said, "Hey, Fabi, you did the CPE, right?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "What do you know about the IELTS exam?" I said, "I don't know anything about the IELTS exam." He's like, "Okay, so I'm opening a course here. One of the teacher who's going to run the course is an examiner. So I would like you to teach with her." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll do it. I'll do it." I love exams because I had a lot of fun studying for the Cambridge exams. And then this teacher, she's an examiner, and she trained me. So it's like, "Hey, Fabi, this is the IELTS test." Wow. And then she told me everything about the test, right? And it was interesting. I was getting to know the test, I was helping the students, but for me, it was just a test, help them. And she was with them most of the time. She was with them maybe 3 hours a day. I was with them maybe 2 hours a day. I wasn't with them for a long time compared to her. Right. And I was just doing everything. She asked me, "Hey, Fabi, can you do this? Hey, Fabi, can you do that?" I was like, "Yeah, cool. I'll do it. I'll do it." Right. And then I think a month or two after I started teaching the IELTS test, I got an email from immigration. Guess what it said on the email from immigration? "You need to do the IELTS test." I was like, "What?" Yeah, and it was funny because then I told the teacher who was helping me, she was like, That's amazing. I'm so excited for you. I was like, yeah, whatever. But then guess how I felt, guys? I succeeded the second time I took the previous exam, right? The CPE exam. But guess how I felt? I was like, oh my God, what if I fail? And I'm the teacher. What if I fail? What if I fail? Oh my God, oh my God. And then I told my students I was gonna do the test, and everyone got really excited. But I wasn't that excited because I was kind of scared, because I had failed before. But I needed a really low score. I needed 4.5, right? But I was thinking, but still, as a teacher, that was a little bit of pressure. I was like, oh my God. So I felt really pressured, you know? So so I decided to do the test. So I decided to do the test, I think, on a Sunday, and I took the test the following week. I had like 1 week to prepare because I needed to hurry because, lawyers, they tell you things last minute. And I see that now with you guys. Okay, Fabi, my lawyer, just told me I have to do it next week. It was the same with me, exactly the same. And I felt pressured. Me as a teacher, I felt pressured. Imagine how you guys feel, so I can relate, guys. I know exactly how you feel when you tell me you have to do the test. Exactly how you feel, because I had the same feeling. Sorry. Like getting the list of documents that your lawyer needs, if you want to study abroad, work abroad, apply for residency, apply for citizenship, apply for anything, right? So I had that list, but for some reason the lawyer had forgotten about it, and then she told me last minute. And also, I had the CPE exam, and I told the lawyer, I said, look, I have the CPE, which is like an 8 on the IELTS. And she said, the immigration doesn't take that exam. It only takes the IELTS. I was like, oh my God, another $500. Anyway, but then I try my best to calm down, and just think about it. How did I train? How did I train for the previous exam, right? So I'm going to do the same, exactly the same. And I had that teacher helping me. She was an examiner. It was perfect. So I did maybe 2 readings. Listening I didn't do because I was helping the students more with listening. So when I was doing the listening with the students, I was practicing too. When I was doing the listening with them. And then I so I did 2 speaking tests with the examiner, and I did 2 writings for her, 2 full writings for her, right? And she gave me my score, and I was very happy with it. And then I did the test. I did a test. So when I did the test, I got 9 for speaking, 9 for listening. And back then, I did the test on paper because there was no test on the computer, guys. I did the IELTS test in 2013, I think it was 13, 14. Can't remember now. I think it was 14, either 13 or 14. And so I got 9 for speaking, 9 for listening, which was perfect, right? Okay, I'm the teacher, I need to be perfect. But then I remember reading, I got lost. I lost track of time then. But then I think I got 7.5, 7.5. And my writing, my friend who's the examiner said, Fabi, your writing is like 8, 8.5. But you're gonna get a 7, 7.5. I said, why? He said, because of your handwriting. It's very difficult to understand. And I said, so the examiner is gonna give me a lower score just because they can't understand it? And she said, no, 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 no. We don't have a lot of time. So when we're reading, if we can't understand, it's wrong. I said, really? And I got 7.5 in my writing. Can you believe it? 7.5. So, and with the other exam, I got an A because my teacher told me, Fabi, I can't understand your handwriting. So what did I do? I practiced a lot. So when we're doing the practice at school, I was writing very slowly, and then my handwriting improved a lot because he was complaining too. And then she complained too, but I didn't have a lot of time. And on the day of the test, I just wrote, and no one could understand. And I feel it too, guys. Sometimes I help students who handwrite their the writings, and it's really difficult to understand. Now I know how the examiners feel. Okay, but nowadays you can do the test in the computer. How cool is that? How cool is that, guys? You can do the test in the computer. If I if I had done on the computer, I probably gotten a higher score. But anyways, I got an overall 8 on the IELTS test. Yeah, I got an overall 8. So I needed 4.5. So that was very exciting. I was a little bit disappointed with the 7 in 7 in listening and reading. Sorry, in reading and writing, 7.5. I was a little bit disappointed with that. But I was very happy overall because I needed 4.5, right? But then when I went there to do the test, right? So I went there. When I was waiting to do the test, I was there in the waiting room waiting. There were so many students there. So many of my students, previous students, people I know. And then we just started chatting, and everyone was really stressed out. And some of them said, "Oh, I haven't studied. Oh, this, oh, that." And I felt their pressure. Because with me, I needed 4.5. And I'm the teacher. Of course, I'm going to get 4.5, you know? But everyone else there, they needed higher scores than I did. And they hadn't practiced. That was something that I found quite shocking. And it was funny because I was there with them, and then I started giving them tips there. I was talking to a guy I hadn't seen in a long time. I was like, "Oh, hey Fabi, what's up? How are you?" Blah blah blah. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, it's my third time trying." I said, "Third time?" He's like, "Yeah, I just can't get this class." I said, "Why not?" And then we started chatting, and I was like, "Oh no, but you have to do it like this, like that." And I was giving him tips on how to do the test because he had no idea how to do the test still because he wasn't really studying. Third time, wasn't studying. I was like, "Man, you have to study." She's like, I know. I just don't have the time. I'm working too much, but I need this to apply for my sponsor, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay. And then I started to notice that people, they are not studying for the test. They just go, they pay, and they poop, and they do it, right? So that was it. So I did the test. I got my results. And when I got the results, sent it to the lawyer, I felt a really good sense of relief. I was like, done. And I was like, wow, I felt this for 1 week. Get the request from the lawyer. In your case, I was applying for my residency, so I had a lawyer helping me. Uh, some people, when they're applying for university, right, they get a letter from the university or an email from the university saying what they have to do, right? So all that process of hearing, you have to know the test, until preparing and then booking and then preparing more and then doing it and then getting the results. Guys, you should take 2 weeks to get the results. So at least here in Brisbane, the IELTS test, we could only do it, yeah, we could do it every 2 weeks. On Saturdays, every 2 weeks. That's how it worked. And it would take 2 weeks to get the results. So if you had to decide, so if you book the test today, the test in 2 weeks, you do the test, and then it takes 2 more weeks to get the results. It would take a month. Can you imagine that? Nowadays, you decide to do the test tomorrow, you do it, you get the results the next day, 2-3 days. Look at what it was like before. Oh my god, long time ago. So yeah, but there was a lot of pressure, you know. And then once I got the results and I finished my application, that's when I really saw the importance of the test. It's not just the test, right, guys? That's what I keep telling you. You don't want the IELTS test. You want your dreams. I wanted my residency, and one of the steps was to do the test. Okay? So after that, I really started to notice that it's not just about the test, it is about your dreams. What are you trying to achieve? What would you like to achieve? Okay. And as you can see, I've been there. Okay. I've been there. And I feel like I'm still there every day with you guys because I help you every day. I'm here talking to you every day. And I have my students at the school where I work here in Brisbane and my students in the course, IELTS with Fabi. Okay. And I feel the pressure. I know exactly what you guys are going through. And I try my best nowadays, right? Not nowadays. I've been doing it for a while now, you know. I try my best to avoid the situation I saw in the waiting room when I was waiting to do the IELTS test, the official test, of course. Yeah, so that situation there, people are really nervous and they haven't studied. They don't know what they're doing. And I remember I was talking to that guy and he said, "Oh, my writing, the worst part is the writing." I was like, "But the writing is simple. It's very simple." He said, "No, no, no, no. Um it's my worst part. The writing is my worst part. And also I and then sorry, he said, the writing's my worst part. I said, okay, cool. And then I said, how are you doing it? The teacher in me, how are you doing it? It's like, I'm just doing it. I said, are you starting with task 2 or task 1? It's like, task 1. I said, try starting with task 2. He's like, why? Because the most important one. Because sometimes you start with task 1 and then you get carried away and you don't have time to finish task 2. He's like, that's what happens to me every time. And I said, why don't you start with task 1? I didn't know I could. I was like, oh my God, just start with task 2. It's like, that makes so much sense. Thank you, Fabi. I was like, you're welcome. So again, guys, and again, this type of information you shouldn't be getting 2 minutes before the test. You should be getting well in advance. But for some reason, this guy didn't have it. And I get really angry when you guys come to me after studying for a long time and you don't know simple things about the test. Okay. So I think that after that day, I started feeling that it would be my mission to be here with you guys and tell people about it because the students I was helping, they were getting really good results. Yeah, and then I think that at the school where I used to work, I think that we needed to open another IELTS class. So then I was teaching IELTS class all day with the other teacher, and she was constantly helping me. So every time I would see um, writing, oh, I'm not sure what score I should give this student. And she was like, oh, yeah, so you should give this because of that and that. So she trained me. So I was trained by an examiner, right? And again, as you know, I cannot be an examiner because if I'm an IELTS examiner, I can't be here with you guys. So what do? I have lots of friends who are examiners, and I'm constantly asking them questions about the test. Every time you guys have a question I can't answer, I will ask them. Okay. And they are extremely friendly. They're amazing. They're so good. And I was talking to a friend who's an examiner. And then she said, look, just, and she's a teacher too, right? So she said, when I'm doing the speaking test with the students, I look at them and I listen to them, and all I want to do is just pause and tell them how to improve, but I can't because the next exam. And I said, "Don't worry, I'll do it for you." It's like, "Please, Fabi, help them." I was like, "Yes, I'm helping them. Don't worry." So examiners want you guys to get a good score too. Okay, it's not like examiners want you to fail. They don't. They don't. Okay, guys, really don't. At least my friends don't. All right, okay. So just let me remind you, okay, I'm here today. I'm here with you every single day this week because there's a new event, okay? IELTS booster that's going to happen on let me check again, 18. I keep forgetting the dates. Wait. 18, 20, and 22 of August. Okay. And it's free, it's online. And if you want to join, if you are watching me on Instagram, just type join in the comments. If you're watching me on YouTube, the link will be in the description of the video. Okay, if you want to join the event, 3 lessons where I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the IELTS test. If you are starting, the IELTS booster is for you. If you are struggling, the IELTS test is for you. If you have done the test but have failed, the IELTS Booster Workshop is for you too. The IELTS Booster Workshop is for everyone who's interested in the IELTS test, okay? So, do you have any questions for me? I shared my story with you guys today. A little bit of my story. I have so many stories. Oh my God. This was just a part of my story. Even in this topic, I feel that maybe maybe there are even more details to the story, but we don't have a lot of time. I have to go have breakfast soon. Any questions for me today, guys? No questions? Let me just check my notes and see. Yeah, and guys, I got a message yesterday on WhatsApp from someone, and this person said that she was missing my lives. She said, Fabi, every time I go on on Instagram or YouTube, you're finishing your live. Okay, how do I know when you start? You have to let us know when you start. I said, but I do. Are you in my group? She said, which group? Okay, so when you join the IELTS Booster Workshop, you can join a WhatsApp group. Okay, and in this group is where you receive the link for all the lives that I do. Okay, and again, guys, maybe you can't be with me live, but you can always watch later, and that's why I'm here. Okay, I'm not that upset that maybe not everyone is watching right now. It's okay. I know you watch later. Okay, so that's why I always send the link. And so she was saying, oh, Fabi, I don't know when you're live. And I said, go to the group. Okay, so if when you join the IELTS Booster Workshop, you can also join the group, the WhatsApp group. Okay, so you join the WhatsApp group, and that's where you're going to receive, of course, all the information about the workshop will be sent to you by email and also by messages on WhatsApp. Okay, in the WhatsApp group. So please join the WhatsApp group too, because it's much easier, right? Like even with the my course IELTS Booster, we have my website. I can send message to students there. I can send them emails, but WhatsApp still the easiest way to communicate. All right, goody goody. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Okay, if you have any more questions, let me know. The best way to get in touch with me at the moment, I think, is via Instagram, Fabi_English. And over there, you can send me direct messages and I will reply to you. Okay, but make sure you join the workshop, IELTS Booster. Okay, link will be in the description of this video. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm back tomorrow a bit later. Okay, I'll be live tomorrow about 8 a.m. Brisbane time, which would be about 6 or 7 p.m. Friday night for you. All right. Okay. See you. Bye.